A friend of this program has posted a video, and it's a lengthy one. It's about 90 minutes long, a little over 90 minutes long, and it's from a candidates debate 1 week ago for the city council races. It's interesting to know. I've seen the signs around town since going well back into September, and it's a pretty crowded field at the moment. But here we are, clock running out. None of these people have called and said, I want to come in and talk about my platform on the radio. And I have a sneaky suspicion it's because they don't want to take telephone calls from any of you. That's called Profiles in Courage. Well, you might ask them a couple of questions that they're... Remember when we had the whole refugee issue stewing a couple of years ago? No one wanted to take a position on it publicly. Well, and maybe in a meeting they did, but they didn't want to take a position. Why wouldn't we want to know what you think if you're asking for my vote? Hello? I'm not going to give them a hard time. I think for the most part, local government functions very well when you compare it to what you get when you look at what happens in federal government and the like. But the fact of the matter is they don't want to. This video of this debate has been seen 10 times. It says 10 views on it. So that tells you that there's not necessarily a huge amount of public interest in all of that. So you realize there are more than 10 people listening to this radio program. In fact, the audience is exponentially larger. So maybe they're trying to avoid that. When you have a debate like this, your family shows up, a couple of your neighbors, 2 friends from church, and maybe your sister-in-law, right? Oh, I say family already, but your extended family, and a couple of other people who are just local political junkies. So you get, 20 people in the room. And you got 10 who've watched it after one full week on YouTube. And as I said, they don't want to come in and sit down on the radio because somebody might call them and ask them a question that they're uncomfortable answering. Then why did you get into public life in the first place? And then they're all going to call, if they do, at the very last minute, as if I'm going to tell my other guests who are already scheduled, you can't come in today because these people who think they're really important think that they deserve the time at the last minute. Doesn't work that way. 9:36, Bill Cawley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com, and we're at 36 right now. There are some people out there who will tell you what they think, and I give them credit. And it turns out over on the council, because even though it's called nonpartisan, they don't run on party platforms. There are some people over there. I give them credit. Chris Talkington is a Democrat. But my gosh, he doesn't have any problem telling people what he thinks. And his attitude is you take it or leave it. But some of his colleagues, sometimes I just wonder if they're waiting to see which way the wind is blowing. Oh, wait a minute, there's been a shift. All right, no, it's shifted the other way. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, well, my position today is if you move the azimuth to the vermuth to the lindenmuth. Excuse me, what was that you just said? Well, I just explained it in perfect English, Bill. And I hope the voters out there will remember my long record when I played quarterback way back in 1964. And always vote for your favorite quarterback from your high school days. That's what I recommend. Because I know how to solve problems, just like I did on the field. Sometimes when the coach didn't know what play he was calling, because obviously he didn't know his backside from a hole in the ground, I had to drop the plays on the field, sometimes using a hole in the ground. All right. And what else would you like to tell us about your political success? We're coming up on a break again in just a couple of minutes, but I had to bring that up completely unscheduled because I happened to see the video posted, and again, 10 views. I've heard this before, and there's a fellow who's writing, and it was he's doing a study. He's in Oregon, and he's writing a study about the lack of local news anymore. But let's be honest with you. It seems difficult to get people interested when you see just 10 views on a YouTube video from a debate. You can't force people to take an interest in local news. We have a caller with us. Caller, about a minute before the break. You're up next. You're on KLIX.
Yeah, you were talking about Labrador a while ago about because he's from the north. The question I got is he a pro-Trumper or is he like Romney anti-Trumper?
He advised Trump and campaigned for him.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, he campaigned for him in some of deep Latin Florida, that is. because Labrador, being fluent in Spanish, went down to Florida and campaigned heavily for the president in the final weeks of the campaign, allowing President Trump. Florida was really the big prize. When Florida went for Trump on election night, that was when people stood up and said, you know what, he's going to win this thing. When he took Florida, it was like a stunner for a lot of people in media. Now, Labrador has not necessarily given the president a free pass and said that sometimes, he's had a few, they've butted heads a few times. But for the most part, Labrador has been very much supportive of the president's actions to try to get this country turned around. And when we refer to Labrador as being from up north, he represents that first district, but he actually lives in Eagles, so he's not really too far up north. It's just the way the districts are divided when you get up into that area around just around the capital, it gets a little. He and Mike Simpson both share portions of Boise, for instance. Why? Well, they had to draw a line somewhere. 20 minutes from 10 o'clock. Bill Cowley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We're at 37. Caller referencing, by the way, Mitt Romney going to be in Idaho Falls tomorrow, making an appearance with Tommy Alquist, also a candidate for governor. Romney giving Alquist his blessing.